So this event is one of the open events which accompany the European Contact Improvisation Teachers Exchange meeting. And we are here with the support of this amazing institution, Mazovian Institute of Culture. And we are very grateful that it was also possible due to receiving funds from the city of Warsaw. So that's our sponsors. And it wouldn't happen if this lady in purple wasn't so stubborn, organizing the Flow Festival for many, many years. So also I have my, great respect for Art Foundation Perform, which actually enabled us to come here and made me to organize it. I'm very, very grateful, thank you. And without further ado, I would love to introduce the program for this tonight. First, we will have a little talk, interactive talk with Hanna, and then there is a panel discussion with a couple of us. I will just introduce Hanna and then we'll see what's going further. So that's Hanna Jurczak. And we will be talking about, we will look at the phases of group process, including one that is often overlooked or suppressed, especially in contact. I mean the conflict phase. Exciting. All right, I give you a...
Okay. Hello, guys. I'm so happy to be here. And really, this topic is something I was looking forward to talk about. I want to talk about the phases of the group. It's like we all are in some kind of groups, not only when we are in ECITE, but maybe the family is a group, or just somewhere where you are working. And in the groups, we will have, we decide that we have some kind of aim. This is something that we do consciously. Okay, like today we decided we will meet here. But we don't know exactly what we are going to do, but there is an aim that the group is working for. For example, dancing. Okay, so we want to dance, so this is how the group process goes. We are dancing, and we know the tools how to dance. But there's something else happening as well, which we call primary process, which is this process that is not what we are so much conscious about, or that we are maybe when we are facilitators, we do look at this process as well. The one that it's not so much seen. Do you have any... You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so for example, the third day of festival. Okay, so of course the bodies are tired, but there's also something happening. Some people would say, okay, we are emotionally tired. What does it mean? Why actually we are emotionally tired? Also, when you're having your workshop, like doing or going out, or laughing so intensively. There are all the signs of this primary process, and this is these phases I would like to talk about, or maybe even invite you that we kind of create something together about these phases. Okay? These ideas I'm talking about, they are coming from like a little bit more like therapeutical background, but also for interpersonal trainings. And I just want to say two names, Bartosz Płazak and Ryszard Kulik. They are people who I was like connected with in this interpersonal training and I like to think that gems actually are kind of interpersonal training. I don't go deeper in it, but interpersonal training is like, okay, but in the body. Okay, so this is somehow, I sometimes think that gems are like such an open space in which this primary process actually goes. So that you actually want to, I'm just thinking if I need to say something more in the beginning. So maybe two things. One, I'd like to really move a little bit together, just firstly. And I'd like invite you to just join whenever you want, okay? So it's we are here in like ECITE Teachers Ball, it's open event, so whenever you want to join, please join, okay? So that I don't express the whole, what are the phases? I would like us to experience something. The first experience, it's very simple. I'll just invite us to stand up and to move in this space that is seen, and to just move how you want, and then stop, okay? So stop in some kind of shape, very simple exercise. Probably you did it many times, but we will then talk about this later, okay? So come on, I'll put a little bit of music. Okay, so we are a lot of people, but if we can land in our bodies, and whenever you, maybe you want to see others. Okay. Maybe just for a moment when we are walking this way, just to feel the whole group, could we just stop altogether? Could we just stop altogether just to feel the group? Like, what is the group? What is the power of group? Okay, and for now, if we could just walk all together and stop all together, just 3 times or something. Okay, whenever you feel to walk, walk. Okay, maybe we just sense how many are we today. If we could go back to this move as you wish and make a shape in the space in the when you stop. Okay, when we are in the shape, can you make a space in your body? Just this. What does it mean? Is it just flowing some gravity towards the air? That is, okay. Just what it means to me. Creating a little bit space in the body. And stop and move whenever you want. Just if you sometimes want, can stop in the shape. Releasing the tension in the stop, in the pause. Okay, and this is happening already. Can you just observe that there are some other people and respond to the shape that you see? And take your opportunity, because this we do today a little bit quicker than normally. Okay, so this is like the last minute of feeling the pleasure of responding to others in some kind of shape, stopping or moving whatever you want to move. Yeah, so let's find the ending. Okay, you can sit down wherever you want, like we don't have to be like in the circle. Oh. Wow, it feels so different to look at you now. So, how do you feel? Like, how could we call this first phase of meeting in a group? What is happening there? What we call, like, what were we actually doing? It was the first exercise in a new group. Okay, what are we doing? What are you doing? Okay, I need some kind of instruction. What should you do? Okay, feel your body. Are you expressing fully? Not really expressing fully. One person who started like being more dynamic, not in the music or something. Okay. So you haven't expressed fully. What else happened? Are we listening to each other or not? Do we feel free? How are we looking at each other? Kind of recognizing who's there, who is.
Sensing the energy.
Yes, sensing the energy. Anything else? Tuning to everybody, to the rhythm and
the silence. The silence.
The silence. Okay, great. So I'll just say a few words about the first phases of this primary process. Okay. So this is the phases of orientation. Looking at each other, like we can look nicely, but okay, who is there actually? Do I want to meet with you or not? I don't know if you felt that at this exercise, but generally this is the moment. Who is actually maybe more interesting to meet? Who is less interesting? For me, just today, with the body, with the feeling I have today. This is normal. Going after Carl Jung, he would say that we have this persona. Okay, so that, like, okay, I'm a nice contact dancer, so I come, and this is how I do this, okay? I mean, but it's normal. We all have to have this because, like, the persona is this moment, is this, is kind of mask that we have, but it's important because we were learning some values in socialization or even at our work doing different things, okay? So this is, I'm coming in some kind of way to the group because I feel this is the way I will be accepted or because this is how I want to present myself. Okay, so this is generally what is happening in this first phase, is checking also who is the person talking, can I actually stay here or it's better to leave the group? Okay, so this is this first phase. Any ideas how we come to the other phase, which I'm just wondering, should I call it already, name it? So in the phase, I will call it the differentiation and confrontation phase. When do we come there? Yeah, let's say the conflict phase. This is the differentiation, like I become more myself, let's say, and confrontation. Okay, can I actually stay with you? When I feel safe enough. So this is like this paradox of this phase. I don't know how is it for you, but for me sometimes, or when I talk with people, when we think of conflict, this is something like, let's avoid it. Okay, but actually, the conflict in the group is happening when we feel safe enough to express ourselves, to be different, and to meet. And we can talk more about this, but I felt also it would be nice to have some kind of symbolization of this phase. And I prepared for you a visualization. Why? I decided this because I felt going shortly into subject, such as conflict phase in our bodies. This is something intense, okay? And I felt like, why not to look at something that we can actually have some distance? Well, I do like to have distance in the conflicts that I am in. Okay, like not be absolutely emotional about everything that is happening, but just, okay, sit. As you said, have a little bit of silence. This is what we were doing also in the beginning of this meeting. So I'll just play the visualization, and I would like you to watch it and just think of this phase about yourself in moments of maybe conflict, but just generally. Okay, this will be abstractive visualization, so I'll do it.
Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. And as you exhale, you fully release all of the air, letting it all go, 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 go. And as you exhale, you fully release all of the air, letting it all go, 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 go. Letting it all go, 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 go. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So, what have you seen? This is very a simple question. What have you seen? Colors. Changes.
For me, it was different points of view, different fears, vision.
Different points of views, fears, visions, opinions, discussing somehow.
Yeah, but which intersects, like which create like a whole picture. It's not separate, but it's kind of mixed.
Layers. Shapes. Relation between blue and red. Moving with music. Okay, playing. Great, because this is what I was like kind of thinking of. How can we actually a little bit play with this conflict phase? Okay, not really just stay and be so serious or so polarized in our opinion. So. And because you're already speaking, I would like to, because, okay, I showed you what I kind of feel about the conflict, how can it be more playful, how can I, like, this is kind of attempt to give a little bit of space for this polarization, how to stay in it, and have like more space in my body. And I would just like to invite you, if it's okay for you, to just grab a partner and tell or talk a little bit about this. How do you actually make this space, or how would you paint the the visualization? What should there be? Okay, we want to. Yeah, I will repeat. So if you can grab the partner and talk about yourself as far as you want, but how do you stay in this phases of conflict? And also, if that helps you, how can you the visualization? What should there be? Okay. Okay. If we can give ourselves maybe one more minute. And if we could slowly finish with the partner and start talking together. Okay, and I'll try once more. If we could start going to the end of this little conversation that we could continue. And really the last 30 seconds, 1 minute. Thank you for all these voices in the space that want to talk. So, guys, this is the moment, and I would ask us from these vivid conversations if we can hear some voices, okay? So how? If you could share, like if we can, in a whole group, maybe hear 3 voices about what should be in the visualization or how to stay more present and with a little bit of distance in conflict, please. 3 voices? Yes. Doesn't have to be something extremely intellectual or whatever.
We were thinking that the time
Time.
was working, so we would add a pause to it.
So you would add the pause. Okay, great. The pause. What else?
Like zooming out, so maybe I would start from like looking at one color that would be my perspective, for example, only red, very close, and then zooming out, so you're seeing actually this situation from like seeing that whole thing, not being only focused on my perspective.
Have you heard? Like focusing first on one color or maybe one perspective and then having wider perspective. Zooming in, zooming out. Anything else?
Yeah, so I personally in conflict going to body because like just observing how maybe you're shaking or hard to talk and breathe and you trying to defend and it helps me to
Stay in the body.
not to say some shit that I don't want to, but have a chance for normal conversation.
Yeah. Okay. So coming to the body, that would be another answer. Anything else? We go. So, thank you. And I think it would be nice that we have a little chance to have to actually do the visualization, okay? But in a different way. I don't have paints with me. But I will say a few more words about being in conflict. But while I'm doing it, please think of one little conflict that you have in your life. Maybe not the biggest. Maybe not this one because we are like almost coming to the end, okay? So if you can think of one conflict while I'm talking, okay? So we take all these ideas of the visualization, the pause, the zooming out, zooming in, and also being in the body. So I thought that we need the red color. And I propose, but you can do it differently. For me, red color would be actually how you say, like my perspective. And I have such a experience that sometimes staying really very strongly in my perspective is also needed in conflict, because if I just say, okay, I can have whatever perspective, I cannot also have dialogue. Okay, this is maybe for people who sometimes are so nice to others that are losing the perspective. Okay, but this is mine. For you, the red color could be something else. But this is maybe something that could be needed in conflict. Okay. Then I have the blue one, because it was in visualization. And like crossing this little, step to another point of view, like this first zooming out, can be actually so much. So let's say that blue could be, for us, seeing the other perspective, maybe just being a little bit interested in the perspective, or being like very interested in the whole range. Okay, I'm just a little bit interested in this perspective, or very much want to understand what is the value on the other side, why this person is shouting and at me maybe, because probably he or she has some kind of reason. Okay. Or maybe not. So, then the pause. I call it for myself space. So let's say that this pause or space would be this color. Okay? Like taking a little bit of distance. And then I have two other colors which were on the visualization, which is yellow. Can you help me and take the violet? Thank you. So these are whatever you want it to be. Okay, being in the body maybe. I don't know. For me, it would be maybe yellow, or dealing with my intuition. Being with my intuition. So my propose is that when you're thinking of this little conflict, that we as a group, at the moment, that we create a big picture. So, for example, my conflict is with my friend, and I had some problems with actually kind of understanding her side. I reacted quite intensively. So I think, okay, I want to put in the space, where could it be? Maybe here. Like this thought, this idea that there is needed a little bit more of understanding the other side. So what I'm proposing is that we all, for now, if you feel like, take some kind of color. Maybe you don't know what is the solution for your little problem. But you feel like, I feel maybe yellow is the solution. So take this color and just put it in the space. Could we try to create this picture together? So I put some music, it will be nicer, no? Yes, I'm repeating. Sorry? I said the pause, one side, the other side, and whatever you feel is your solution. It's blue, it's violet, and yellow. Okay? Yes. Let's improvise with that, okay? Also, if you feel like in my reality, I'm just giving space for the picture. Yes. You can also do things with this, these colors. can play where So, this is our creation about the differentiation and confrontation phases of the group. What do you feel when you look at it? How is it to put your part? Spread out. Your part.
But some others paper, they could put it in another place.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be there. Yeah, sure. Wow. Important that where I put it, that it actually, wow, can be here because it's about me, about my differentiation. Okay, guys, this is the picture that we will finish with. We go to the other part. Do you feel like coming with your bodies closer to it, or it's like we can finish here? Coming? Okay, so I'll just put for 1 more minute music. If you feel like you want to stay somewhere in the space and have whatever gesture, you can do it. Just and stay as long as you wish. Okay, so we can compose our bodies to it, but we don't have to. Okay, let's give this pause, this 1 minute little score, and this will be our end. I think that I will let this picture to continue for some more. We will come into another phases of the panel talk. The other thing that I want to say that I feel like this is the opening. Some people are still on ECITE, so I will be very happy to also talk about this. Not only talk, but also do some things. Maybe tomorrow. But what we will install, could you help me? So I thought I prefer to do something with you than to talk too much. But there would be the like some more informations next to this picture about the group phases. They are printed. And we will find a space about this. There will be also questions for like more, a little bit like kind of personal that you can ask yourself about you being in different phases of the group. So I feel like this is kind of, so it's kind of opening of the talk. Also, if you just came for today, I will put it somewhere, and this will be the end. Thank you for this co-creation.
Thank you, Hanna, for this wonderful experience. And I go slightly serious. There's a spot tomorrow before lunch for a workshop. So before we go forward, there's a couple of announcements. We are still looking for a morning practice, 9 a.m. till 9:50. So if you want to hold a nice composing, or resolving, or reimagining. Reimagining is a word I like. So, there's one chair, second chair, and I would love to invite us for the panel discussion with few guests who were our teachers on the Warsaw CI Flow Festival, but are still with us and will be with us during the ECITE. And we would like to invite you for this discussion around the topics, it's called Holding the Unknown. Contact improvisation as a practice of resilience and being together. So let's come together, and I will introduce our guests, and yeah, some water will come too, and I have okay, we have some, and apparently we need to have a microphone because we record that, and that's the main deal. It's weird, I don't know. Like sitting on the chair on the Contact Festival, well, on Contact event. Great that no one has shoes. Do you want to be down or you want chair? Okay. You sure? Oh, there is 6 chairs, so you have a chair. So I will just leave you 2 speakers, 2 more microphones. You have to switch them on once you talk, but. And again, I lost my phone with my notes. I'm sorry. Oh. Okay. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. We have a very kind of a plan which we will follow. It will be also very improvised. So. And the plan for the evening is we start together, and then the last 15 minutes will be for also all the questions from the audience. So keep your questions. There will be time for that, and we really want to hear also your perspective. And yeah. But just starting, I would love to introduce ourselves. So we'll start with the panelists, and I will be the last. But I'm Klara Łucznik, and yeah, I basically hold it. That's my job. And as a guest, we have Thomas Kampe, Adrian Russi, and again, Ayelet. I lost my papers. Jakotiel. And Ina Falkova, but they will introduce themselves because that they will do much better job than me.
Is it ladies first?
Okay. Yes.
Who knows what? Who wants to start?
Let's start with Ina then. Would you say a couple of words about what brings you to Warsaw and how you end up here? And
I'm Inna Falkova from Ukraine, from Kharkiv. Now it is a city near with the Russian border, always under attacks, shooting. Some time ago, I organized a ECI community there, and before the invasion started, it was quite good, active technical community with a good contact dance. Also, we did together with the Ukrainian team Dancefulness Festival. A lot of Polish people visited us. So I was involved in international CI community, ECITE meetings. And now we have a deal with the war, and it's a very strange version of contact improvisation or movement practicing now. I'm grateful for organizers to invite me because I really bring very special something to the common CI world.
My name is Ayelet Ikutiel. I come from Palestine, Israel, born and raised in Jerusalem, Al-Quds. In the land, I work with somatics and CI and dance with mixed groups of Palestinians and Israelis, as well as in West Bank, and also working internationally with with facilitating somatics and working through the field of performance with artists from Gaza, West Bank, Israel, Palestine, with fabric of people of the land, of all kinds and races and cultures, to bring about both awareness and a stop for the ongoing genocide and occupation and apartheid and war. As well as to create spaces for regulation and to create spaces for collective liberation and political imagination and processing. Yes, I'm really grateful to be here and also acknowledging this land that we are currently on, that is where Ghetto Varsha used to be. So I feel also recognition for my ancestors here.
Yes. I'm not so used to microphones. So I'm Adrian. I'm coming from a very different country. I'm coming from Switzerland, very safe place. Mainly teaching CI, jamming, making my living from contact improvisation, from organizing events, some traveling, much more traveling before the pandemic. I've been several times, quite many times in Russia, several times in Ukraine, couple of times in Israel and in many other countries. So, yes, really a different situation for me than my previous talk.
Hello. Yeah. Okay, hi, I'm Thomas Kamper. First of all, I'm excited to be here. It's been wonderful to be invited to the festival, to teach here and to be part of this panel discussion. I'm German of a certain generation. I was born in the 1950s. And when we went out to play, we used to go and say we'd go play in the ruins. And the area looked kind of very similar to the area around here. So from early childhood onwards, I had an awareness of war, loss, atrocities, the Holocaust, Second World War, trauma in my family, in other families. And I come here with an awareness and acknowledgement of the space and the site where we are. And I come here also with the awareness of that my father's generation and my grandfather's generation did extraordinary deeds here to destroy all over Eastern Europe, all over Central Europe, also Western Europe, genocided Jewish people, genocided Eastern European people. And And that awareness has shaped myself, has shaped me as a person from early childhood onwards. I have worked as a performer, I have worked as a performance maker, I have worked as an educator and also as a cultural producer and facilitator. Somehow in all of that mix, I carry that awareness of cultural responsibility. I carry the knowledge of art and culture having the capacity to heal us, to change us, for us to, as art being a possibility for a counterculture to that what constructed the destruction that destroyed this country and many other countries. And I see contact improvisation as one of many practices, 20th century white Western privileged practices, that hold a promise and hold the possibility for goodness and for cultural healing. And I have experienced that deeply in myself, in my own personal journey, and I'm very happy that I've had the opportunities in participating in a culture like this. And I'll say a little bit later on other things about things that I've done and things that I've encountered in relationship to resilience and culture.
So one thing I haven't said yet, is that I found it quite extraordinary, the collection of people we have here today. And also I have a personal relationship with this collection. Although I grew up in Warsaw and my family is here, my family originates from all over, and including Vilno. And yet my surname says that my family originates from Łódź, which is in Ukraine. And every time, the last couple of years, when there's a bombing in Łódź, it's something really strongly holds me inside. Kind of the feeling how unimaginable it is where we are and how big coincidence it is. You know, it's like this movement that my family ended up with Warsaw. In Warsaw is all the post-war movements and Stalinism and moving Poles to West, but also the dynamics before, and it's just an accident that's actually we live here rather than more to Eastern. And it sits with me by last couple of years. But also I have this reflection, a topic of resilience came to me actually during the pandemic, when we were holding the practice in Warsaw. And 1 week when the situation was quite grim, I asked my participants if they want to cancel. And they very strongly told me not to cancel because they really need this practice to keep some sanity, as most of them were teachers, therapists, or other public servants, and they were dealing with difficulties and holding other people through their experience daily, and they needed one place where they could be themselves and rebuild their resources. So that sits with me, and that's how we end up talking about resilience today. So maybe I would like to really start unpacking this term and kind of what the resilience is often described as a capacity to adapt, recover, or stay rooted in the face of change or a challenge. And in this context, I'm really curious, how does contact improvisation illuminate some or highlight or cultivate resilience, both in us as individuals, but also collectively?
Yeah. So we had a lovely meeting yesterday, or was it day before yesterday, where we just chatted a little bit about what does resilience mean to us. And to some extent, to me, it means the capacity for a system to stay healthy. But for me, there's several kinds of resiliences. There's the resilience that stays healthy through propaganda. Yeah? There's the resilience of us just getting on there and what's happening now in Russia or in Israel or in many other places where resilience is happening through, the stabilizing of a system is happening through propaganda and through affirmative thinking. Yeah? That we are thinking in the way and constantly giving information into the system that it's so great, we are so great, we are the best, this is really good what we're doing. So there's one way of, and I see that a lot in the kind of community formation, not only in contact, but in many other somatic fields as well, that we're constantly appraising ourselves, how good Moshe Feldenkrais was, or we're bonified, Bonnie said this, and Bonnie is so great, and Moshe said that, and Steve said that, and it's all wonderful, and we're really great. And that's how we kind of hold up the system. And it's really not what interests me at all. I think there is another type of resilience that interests me, which is the resilience that happens through empathy and criticality. Empathy and criticality, that a system that can feel and be open, and a personhood and a community or a society that can stay open and empathetic, but also a society and a personhood that can be self-critical, that can ask questions, and therefore can allow for change in the system. Yeah. And that we're also able to address our blind spots. Who's present in this culture, who's not present, who's included, who's excluded, who's holding the power, where are we located, what, yeah, and so on and so on. So what interests me is a kind of resilience that allows for also for conflict and for criticality and for self-criticality, where we are putting ourselves in the vulnerable position of love and kindness and empathy, but also into the vulnerable position of being critical and allowing ourselves, our own position, to be put into question. That's the kind of resilience that interests me in terms of setting up conditions that a system can develop in a caring way.
We don't have to go in the rounds. We can, yeah, if any of you feel to respond to that or continue, that's, yeah.
Okay, so maybe just a very simple personal story from some months ago with my partner, my life partner. We had huge struggles. I was desperate. I was close to quit the relationship that we have been we're together since 5 years. We had many conflicts in these 5 years. We did therapy work that was kind of helpful, and then last spring again a huge crisis. And then we went to a jam, 2 hours jam, 2.5 hour jams. She left early because she didn't feel well. I kind of stayed, and during this jam something deeply switched inside myself. I just dropped the conflict. I just felt I'm again centered physically, emotionally, with my mind. I went home and I dropped the conflict. And this is for me a very personal, individual part of resilience that I can find in practicing CI.
Thank you for that. That's, yeah, I can recognize that in myself too.
I'm sorry about my very simple English. I have a helper, translator. I will try to explain. Personally, when I dance, some big weight or some circumstances come to me and change my structure. And I am again recreate my structure physically. And the same for me with emotions, with the mental level, with all my state. Just reminding that I can recreate. I remember my structure, what important, where I stay, how it is personally, and collectively kind of another things. We have a family, like a big family, members, brothers, sisters, old people, cousins, whatever. And if something happens with a member, all family will help me, will come, support, stay with me for something. And I wish to have this kind of things in our big international community. Before the invasion, I was thinking about big international community as about a good friends, family. And when invasions happen, some contact friends from different countries wrote me and helped me with the money and help with other things. And I'm very grateful for Switzerland community. They continue to help with some moments. But also, I have a wish about communication between the communities. For example, we meet in Freiburg as the biggest international festival and create a lot of connections, intersections, research together, a lot of things. But when something happened with Israeli community or with Russian community or with Ukrainian, we didn't really speak about that or send something, write something from community to community. Personally, it's happened. Would be nice to communicate as a big communities between each other. It's a kind of wish. I don't know if it's if it's possible. Let's discuss. Maybe I'm quite naive or romantic or whatever. It would be nice to communicate about situation with the big international Israeli contacts festivals, which we visited, most of us. Yeah, and how we communicate with that now. It is for me a kind of resilience when we meet the situation, discuss, help each other to go through difficulty and not to be destroyed.
Thank you, Ina. Yes, okay. A few thoughts. One is about looking at resilience as a distribution of tension. And I feel the tension is here, for instance. I feel in this moment there is some tension. And we are dancing in various fields of tension. But rather than escaping it, how can we recognize it and work with it in a way that is flexible and is also strong, and notice the potential of tension with our different layers of body. So when we come in this space as animals, as spirits, as political beings, as all that we are. I think of the very simple, essential tools that CI and dance give us of regulation and conduction and motor expression, motor outlet, especially in situations where we have a lot of stimulation, and coming from a land that, regardless of one's political views or positions, everyone is experiencing immense fear and threat and grief and moments of eruptions from bombs. So how do we come and we can regulate ourselves, we can shake it out, we can find, again, a strength that is not stiffness, but that has suppleness to it. And I feel also very important in the practice is the aspect of contra, the fact that we actually get to feel our power, we get to play with our power, to have contra, to have another force coming towards us, but in a way that nourishes our systems, and in a way that when that is lacking from societies, when we lose our practices of feeling our power, feeling our immensity, feeling our delicacy as well, we can maybe start look for it in violence. So how can we not neglect power and force for the ideals of peace, but actually cultivate them so that they don't become violence? On another layer, I feel that we all have the experience that there is something about just seeing each other as humans. And if we wish, we can also add to that the layer of looking at it as a practice that is contrasting racism and dehumanization, but it's not a given. I don't think it's a given that if we practice contact improvisation and we know that we can access people as humans, then we will necessarily see them outside of this context, but it can be. Maybe one last thing is the word of immunity, that when a system is immune, it needs to be exposed. It cannot be just styrilic. When something is styrilic, we're not really immune. And that is more in the relation of who is invited in the space, because all of us humans have the potential to be the perpetrator, the victim, the abuser, the savior, the one that risks their life for the other, the one that takes someone else's life in a certain situation. So how do we introduce people of areas of conflict and war and not avoid this topic, but actually take it as a potential to grow resiliency as an international community?
To talk about the kind of next question which came up to us yesterday. So about the resonances beyond the CI. So how this practice is connected with outside world. And I have a feeling that I would love to discuss it through the values and kind of what you, especially Ayala, said already, that's we slightly think and take for granted that we have shared values and that dancing CI inherently make you something. So maybe I would love to just open that topic. What kind of values the community, we think the community should hold today or comes with CI, what we want to cultivate in these times.
Oh, it's on. It's lovely. I can grunt a little bit. Gosh, what an exciting question. What a question. I remember watching a film when I was a young dance student, and I was watching Martha Graham talking about the genius of the artist and how special we are as dancers, and the self-aggrandization of the arts. And then I was watching a documentary by Merce Cunningham just afterwards, and what stuck with me is Merce Cunningham, also famous American choreographer. And he kept saying, well, I was just interested, you know. I found that interesting. I was curious about that. And I thought he completely detached himself from aggrandizing himself, but taking an interest in others, taking an interest in the world, being curious about yourself and being curious about what's around you. And it resonates with me because I feel that is being ignited in me again through being more active as a practitioner again after having been an academic and having had injuries and this. What is it that interests me here, and what are the values? And certainly the values of being kindly curious are they kind of speak to me in terms of facilitating freedom, put it that way, or celebrating freedom. And we talked a little bit about that in my intensive, you know, the quality of hosting, of facilitating creativity, facilitating freedom, facilitating opportunities for others. I was recently in a talk hosted by the eco-somatic practitioner Jamie McHugh, and one of the questions he was asking, and that again resonated with all of this, was, who are you serving? Who are you serving as a practitioner? Is it just yourself, or is there something or someone you're also kind of serving? And that, perhaps because I'm not so young anymore, begins to interest me more as well. Who am I serving in relationship to the outside world? Who, you know? So, and the last thing, I do think for me, care, a practice of care is really important. A practice of care, and coming back to that and asking myself also how, what do I care for through the work? Who do I care for? And how does the work also cares for me? And I feel to a great extent, particularly through somatic practice and dance, that they've been practices of self-care and have given me resilience. So in some ways, I very often know that there is a potential for bettering in myself, and that I can, and for feeling better on this planet, and as a human being in this through this work for myself. And I think that can be also something the work can serve for others, perhaps.
I will share my observation, which was very strange for me, because I know a value of contact improvisation, and when invasion happened, I continued to do meetings, classes, and I was trying to bring again our values back, but it doesn't work anymore. And I was very, very surprised. Touching become not a value. People start to avoid the touching a lot. Relaxation become not a value. They totally avoid and hate. And 1.5 years forbidden. It was forbidden to do body works. When I proposed, people refused. a lot of things what we usually doing didn't work anymore. And I am noticing that human connection, kind of unity, continue to be a value, physical presence, embodiment, continue to be, and movement. That's all.
The basic stuff.
Yeah, and step and movement. Touching, physical touching,
No.
doesn't work. Relaxation totally doesn't work because people needed protection, defense, tense to feel more ready, more
In control, probably.
yeah, more in control. Yeah, happiness, happy dancing totally doesn't work because people who came lost their relatives just nearest days, etc., etc. But movement, embodiment, and human connection, feeling of unity, continue to work, and after, step by step, we add, rebuild again another kind of values.
Thank you.
Yeah. The thing that is really fascinating to me in CI is that there are so many life principles included, and so many values that for me are valuable for life. People sometimes ask me, are there any rules I need to follow when I go to a jam? Mainly beginners ask this, are there any rules, are there any whatever? And I say normally, no, there are no rules. There are hardly any obligations. It's a lot of freedom, but there are some obligations. Obligation to respect each other boundaries. Obligation to not injure anybody else, to not bring somebody in danger, very practically, not dancing over your limits. And maybe the biggest obligation is to communicate, to be in communication with all the other people. So the fascinating thing for me is really a group event where we are not doing the same movement in the same rhythm to the music, blah, 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 blah. But everybody is individually moving in space, and it only turns into a group event because there is so much communication happening. And this is the really fascinating thing for me, the communication, and to be aware what is the impact of my doing in a dance space, and what is the impact of my not doing. If I have a wild dance in a space, I'm responsible to still be aware of the space, to not injure other people. If I see a situation happening that is not really, how do I say, correct?
Contact situation.
Transgressive. And I feel bad about something has happened there. Somebody cannot be with their boundaries to approach this situation. This is a responsibility if I do it or if I do it not. So I'm also responsible for what I'm not doing. And these are life principles that are so important. And to me, CI has a deeply anarchistical approach because everybody is responsible. It's self-responsible and it's a co-responsibility. We share responsibility, but each one is also self-responsible. And recently, a young dancer came to our annual jam. She was around 25. And then afterwards, we were talking, and she was telling me, wow, this was so wonderful. It was so great. I'm really, wow. And what really impressed her was the mix of age, because she used to move among the same age of people, and the high degree of self-responsibility. Because she used to move in groups where they care so much for each other. And of course, caring is important, but in some groups, I guess there is too much caring for each other. Are you okay? Da, 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 da. And for her, it was so liberating. And I guess instead of caring, I prefer to see a need for support, to give support, offer support, accept support. And this is a very basic thing of dancing CI, supporting weight, giving weight, all this stuff on a very physical level and then transferred in a more complex level of human encounter.
Again, maybe something just small and very basic is that I feel that this practice is very enlivening and awakening and freedom enhancing, and might be used in this way for also reflection on freedom and the lack of freedom, not lack, but the lack of having freedom and what we do with it. And in a way could perhaps give some contra for blind obedience, for the possibility of being indoctrinated, and of thinking out of the box, thinking in multidirectionality.
Thank you, Ayelet. And we also wanted to talk about the future, but also I'm aware of time, and I would love to open the floor for the questions from you. So we'll have around 10 minutes, and yes, if you have a question, raise your hand. I come to you with the microphone because we want to hear you.
Thank you. Actually, I wanted to give the voice to Inna because I feel that we quite do not understand maybe at all what does it mean to hold the contact community at this moment in Kharkiv. So I thought first question is maybe you can say a little bit more about how is it happening and who is coming and the needs of the people, but also the circumstances, like what is the everyday. And the other maybe part I thought about that you mentioned these contact communities and how you maybe feel some sort of a need of communication between. Maybe you also have a concrete need that you would like to express, to take this moment and to tell us what do you need and what kind of support can we give. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ksenia.
Thank you to ask about that. Before the invasion, it was quite intense dance and quite technical, and a lot of people came to the jams. I was quite happy and satisfied that, and immediately all these people moved to Europe, and now a lot of our members dancing in Berlin and somewhere else in Europe. some people stay in Kharkiv, some new people came. Quite difficult for me to name it dance, and quite difficult to write let's learn a dance technique, because if it was shooting at night and people came and they have destroyed buildings and really a lot of members in a group lost their relatives, quite difficult to name it dance. I'm writing something else, for example, supporting practices, embodiment practices, whatever. I used a lot of authentic movement, somatic technique, and a bit of contact. It's not a real jams now, and not a real technical contact, because quite difficult propose for people just to learn a technique. So everything what I'm doing, of course, it is from a contact improvisation and practicing around, but I add some kind of meaning which can help in this situation. So I don't name it therapy, but I'm thinking how to help people to go through everything of that, and it's include a kind of therapy. But I'm not name it therapy or don't name it CI. Kind of practicing together. What was so great that Switzerland community really sent us some money to rent a dance place, because it's with the money, but I don't ask people to pay, because I know that people in a crisis, in a real crisis, with the broken homes. And in Kharkiv, I don't ask money. I ask some small donation, because we still to have some needs, and some people doing very, very small donations, sometimes not. And we still to rent a dance class, because some people help us to do that. And it's a kind of small crowdfunding, not a big. Would be nice just have a voices from international community. Of course, it was my imagination at the beginning of war, because every summer I was visiting a Freiburg Contact Festival, but when invasion started, I can't visit it. And it would be nice to have something from a big community, like, hey, we are not lost you, we know that you exist, and then somewhere we are in a connection. Just that would be nice to have. And also, I am noticing a communication with Israeli CI community on a Facebook private pages, and some like hot voices from some European dancers to Israeli community. And we didn't ask them how they are in this situation. Can we help them to go through, to change a perspective of view or what they are doing? And I did a project just before. It means just before the Third World War. What I did, a piece of this project, I just did in a CI Flow Festival. And the members, few members were from Israel, and they share that they help Palestinian people with the money, and also with the dancing through internet, and with they help them to survive somehow somewhere in Egypt, and also they are doing resistance to the Netanyahu politic. So they're doing quite a lot. I was surprised, and it was so important for me to know that, but they can't publish it on pages, because Palestinian can be repressed from Hamas. That's why they are not saying loudly about that. And for me, it was important to know, and I would like to share that with international community, not to hate them, to communicate with them as a community with community. To write some letters or to ask them about something or to create some discussions about these political situations. I am observing community of Israeli or community of Ukrainian dancers or also Russian community as a part of the whole body, and how we continue to dance without some parts. Like kind of we blind or ignore something happened. And the same for the Russian community. It's very big and very strong community. I was studied a lot inside the Russian community, but when invasion started, their silence, they didn't say nothing to Ukrainian community. So we are not connected with these huge situations. We are just dancers. If it's possible, I would like to ask. They continue to dance and silent, but before 50% of Ukrainian festival, it was dancers from Moscow, and near 50% of Moscow festival, it was dancers from Ukraine. And we communicated through internet, and they, Moscow community asked us, oh, please send for everybody our mails about festival, send our advertising. So they communicated with us, and it was needed for them, but now it's don't need anymore. How does it work between communities, which was as a really friendly, whatever? I have these questions and these wishes to communicate more about hot questions.
Ayelet?
Yes, thank you so much for all what you said. I think it brings so many questions and so important, especially in a, like, I feel that's something that we need to continue talking about, how to really learn to be community in a way. Something else, what I had that question about the term of resilience. Resilience, like, in a way, continuing to be strong in situations. And I'm wondering if it's always helpful to be strong. And I think in CI we have that range of being soft, being in collapse, being strong. And there's something about also this worldwide system that we live in that also tells us about being resilient, but in a way it means also to be continuing with the same. So maybe in moments it's also needed that we collapse or that we don't continue with what we are always living in. So what does it mean to collapse or live in collapse? Because that's also something that is our future. Because if nature collapses, then how do we continue?
Thank you, Heike. One thought is about resiliency and strength of adaptation, of adapting, of assessing what is actually that we are dancing with and dancing on and in, and adapting a culture, and any culture is stagnant if it's not adapting, if it's not changing, if it's not with ability to respond. Then I think there's different kinds of strength. And vulnerability is also a kind of strength. And the growth into being able to breathe and to sit in challenging, maybe, conversations is a kind of strength. And maybe even if there is still this inner seeking of going through, going beyond, growing, cultivating life, giving values, experiencing peace, I feel that the way out is through, is with being with what is, and being creative with what is, as a kind of resiliency, and maybe collapsing as well. It's actually collapsing and giving weight and relaxing the whole body is one of the main principles of nonviolent protests. It has a lot of force, and stop has a lot of force, and quietness in the midst of the storm has a lot of force. So, different forces.
Thank you, Ayelet. And we have time for the last question tonight, but I just wanted to remind you that we don't have to finish this discussion today. We have a week in front of us, and we have time for kitchen table discussions, and we can find time to continue this discussion. So keep your questions and curiosities. There will be space for it. So I just give voice to Dan.
Thank you. My question is about CI jams and activities as safe spaces in a very unsafe world. And what I realized, especially building up to the summer with the festivals and the camps, different communities felt it necessary to come up with statements about violence, usually specifically about violence happening in Gaza, in Palestine, Israel, and I think some of the motivation, sometimes it was spoken, sometimes it was kind of an undercurrent, is the issue of having perpetrators in the space, perpetrators of violence in the space. And it was also an issue for me coming here. I was nervous about people showing up that I know, at least in terms of their motivation and thinking, and maybe sometimes in their action, might be perpetrators of violence, and it would be, for me, emotionally unsafe to be in the same space with them. It's the first time that it's really coming up for me. So I'm wondering about this situation of how do we deal with ensuring that the spaces are safe, but also keeping those kind of channels of communication open.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone have any initial thoughts to respond? Or contribute, actually, maybe that's the better word.
I mean, I'll say a little bit, because what interests me really is also to be a facilitator and a co-producer of a festival, coordinator of a festival, or having witnessed how the festival has been organized here, and I find that really important that that festival organizers, like the team I'm working with, or other teams, begin to articulate what this all means, and to have the difficult conversation. Who's welcome in the room? Who's excluded? Who are we inviting as teachers? Who are we? Who and how are we as facilitators provide spaces of equity, spaces of diversity, but also safe spaces? And I think a lot of us are really just learning how to have a conversation that's confrontational, that's complex, without feeling offended, to listen to each other, to then also begin to look at our fabric here critically, to look at how much time do we give for discussion and dissent? How much time is it just jamming, or how much do we give time for these kind of discussions where we're becoming aware of the culture that we are part of and the culture we're creating? I work in London. I live in an area where I'm the white guy on the bus. And if I go to the jam, it's only white guys, normally. But it's white people. Yeah? And I go to the last jam, and there are 20 people dancing, and 10 people of color are in the space out of the 20, and global majority people, 3 black women, 3 dark-skinned Asian men, 3 Asian women, and the conversations at the festival are, we feel welcome here, we feel safe here, that's why we're coming. Then when we have the discussion in the team of saying, well, how do we respond to that? How do we want to respond to changing the demography? So how do we actively embrace as organizers the conflicts or the diversity and the necessary cultural changes around us? And I think the conversations need to be had, and they need to be had between us who are organizing things, be that small events or large events. If we're responsible decision makers, we need to ask those questions, and we need to be aware of what our position is. I can't really speak directly to your question because I acknowledge your anxiety and fear, and I think it's a really important question. But I think it speaks to me in terms of that we as people who organize events perhaps need to also think more critically about what conditions we are creating for personhood and for community or for society that we're creating.
And perhaps I would love to add something here as an organizer of this particular event. A big question for me is how much polarization is happening in the world. And one thing about the polarization, how it is happening, is that we more and more speak only with people of the same view as ours. And certainly contact community is slightly a bubble of those two, but we experienced quite a big difference of values a year ago on the festival here. And there was this question about exclusion or, sitting with the trouble. And I have to say we decided to exclude. But I also noticed that by doing it, I contribute to polarization and lack of dialogue. And I contribute to lack of any chance for a change, or finding a shared, some shared common ground. Because once we kind of separate and stop talking, we can't really move forward with that. So it's hard, and I have no answers, and maybe this is something we can think about this week too, about how we deal with very different values in the communities. And it's not only about the war and perpetrators. I also see that in terms of dealing with consent, dealing with minority groups, the rise of white people to keep their practice, or the rise of minorities to feel safe, the more conservative, more liberal political views. I see that in many, many levels. So yeah, it's somewhere here, and I think the big part of that is we just pretend that we are all the same.
but we not. We are very diverse, and it would be lovely to actually hear different voices and be able to sit with them before rejecting or saying like, I know better. One last note?
For me, it depends how people behave concretely in a jam space. My thoughts are not always so clean, so proper, so human. I can be quite an asshole. And I'd like to be still accepted in a jam space. And I guess it's all about communication. That we need to communicate with those people. We need to stay in touch. And I guess there are situations where we need to exclude people who turn the space into something disrespectful or dangerous thing. And then I had just a short story when I was in Israel 2010 teaching as an intensive teacher. And then the organizers had the idea that all the teachers can go to Arab cities or some also to the West Bank to teach Arab students, because most of the participants in the festivals has been Israelis, Jewish Israelis. So I and my ex-wife, we were accompanied by a friend of mine, an Israeli, and he was quite critical against the Arabs. Not really racist, but and so he accompanied us to Nazareth. We were teaching in a Christian Arab school, and then on the way back, it was somehow shocking. He said, wow, they're human. They're interested in the same thing as me, as us. So they had just very strange fantasies because they were not in touch with each other. And this was so beautiful, so nice, and so shocking at the same time.
So just the last words, but Ayelet. So I would like to pray, actually. I'm from Jerusalem. This is what we do. To pray that in the name of stopping violence, we don't perpetuate violence. That in our effort to genuinely wish to stop wars, we don't create more war. And that pointing out racism and dehumanization, we don't become racist and dehumanize others. And to pray for freedom and safety and protection and peace to all of us here, that we get to experience that and get to experience the richness of our variety, and that we get to be together with help and with reparation and with healing that is so needed. Yeah. Thank you, Ayelet.
I'm very sorry to use 1 minute of your attention, but I'm proud to tell that we continue our festival even between war and terribleness, and we will do a small version of Dancefulness Festival, which some of you visited as a big international in Kiev before, and we will do a very small dancefulness in Carpathian Mountains, totally safe place. Not a lot of men can come, men totally taken to the war. It could be quite a lot women energy, but if you are if you wish to come, we would be so happy to be again international, and we will care about safeness a lot. We know how to organize that. It's totally near with the Europe border, so it's quite safe. Carpathian Mountains. When 26 to 30 July, just next week.
Well, a week
and
to
it's very
recover.
cheap also.
Oh, come on, the discount is that it's in the Ukraine.
You can send discount to the drones, please.
So with this invitation in hearts, I invite you to very, very short break just to refresh our mind and shake off a little bit these thoughts. But let's also keep them in our hearts and minds and see where it takes us dancing tonight. And tonight a jam will be held by Dan. Do you want to say something?
Hello. Yes, after the break, we are going to start the jam, so we can decide how long you need to for break, for refresh your mind. And I would like to invite you to, once we come back to the space, we find our way in a big circle to start together.